everyone, and welcome to the RV Inspection and Care podcast and video. I'm Dwayne. I'm a certified RV inspector, and today we're going to be talking about the liquid spring suspension system for motorhome RVs. Now, I made a video last year about how to upgrade gas-powered motorhome suspensions, and I covered several of the more popular ways that you can improve ride and handling in those units. But I always wanted to know more about liquid spring. I wanted to experience it for myself. I'd heard a lot about it. Everything I had heard was very good, but I just wanted to actually see it for myself. Well, this year, I went to the 2024 huge Hershey RV show, and I saw in advance that Liquid Spring was going to be an exhibitor there. So I deliberately decided that I was going to make sure I got a test drive with Liquid Spring. And that's what I did, and I'll give you the results of my test drives just a little later in the video. First, let me explain what Liquid Spring actually is. This will be very helpful, especially for those who haven't really heard about it that much before. It's a computer-controlled liquid suspension system that entirely replaces the suspension that comes from the factory on your RV. It allows you to adjust ride and handling as needed in real time as you're going down the road. Now, it's not anything new, actually. According to Liquid Spring, it's being used on 97% of Type 1 ambulances out there for the last few years. So it's not unproven technology. It's actually been proven to work. And here's how it works. A power module is installed next to the driver's seat. It allows the driver to adjust the liquid pressure in the system to get the ride or the handling that the driver wants. You can choose as soft or as firm as you want the suspension to be. In the meantime, the computer in the system is monitoring speed, steering, braking, road conditions, ride height, and all of that 1,000 times per second. Pretty advanced stuff, huh? Well, why do you need such a huge technological upgrade for motorhome suspensions? Well, that's because motorhome RVs that are gas-powered have been using commercial truck and van chassis for years to build the RV on it. And actually, they work very well for many things. They're very reliable. They handle weight well. That's why they're used for RVs. But the Achilles heel is they are not fun to drive. No more than it's fun to drive a commercial truck around town. So there were a lot of complaints about specifically Class A gas-powered F53 chassis from Ford and the Ford E350 and E450 chassis for Class Cs. A lot of complaints about ride and handling. Now, there are cheaper solutions to improve the situation, and I covered a lot of those in that video last year. For instance, you can upgrade the shocks on the chassis. You can install sway and stabilizer bars or track rods or sumo springs, and there are other choices as well. And all of them don't really cost an awful lot to install, and the good news is they all do help make ride and handling better. It depends on the chassis you have as to the combination of products that you use. But Liquid Spring doesn't promise improvement in ride and handling, Liquid Spring promises you're going to love your suspension. So, is that really true? Well, I test drove 2 RVs at the show with Wayne Wells, the Liquid Spring National Product Manager. We went out, first of all, in a Super C made by Nexus that has off-road capabilities and therefore has a stiff suspension. And we went out next in a Class A gas motorhome, a Winnebago Adventurer. So both of these suspensions are known to be a little rough, a little challenged to drive under certain circumstances. What I can tell you about my test drives is I was impressed. I could sit there in my seat as the driver and choose the stiffness of the ride with the touch of a finger on the power module. So I could choose 3 settings. One is the soft setting, so I could float down the road, you know, like a diesel pusher. Then there's a normal setting in between. And then there's a sport setting, and it stiffens up the suspension and is very useful for situations like when you're in windy conditions, for swaying. Also, when trucks are going by, you're on a road where there's a lot of trucks, or maybe curvy roads, things like that. It really makes handling in those areas better. And again, you can choose it with the touch of a finger as you're going down the road. And it is a huge improvement over the factory stock setting that comes on these RVs. So I can tell you that I am a believer in Liquid Spring technology now because I've experienced it and it just simply works. Here's a very good point for me to say, though. I'm not affiliated with Liquid Spring at all, and I'm not paid by them in any way for my review here. I'm just telling you what I honestly felt. Well, what about the cost? And there's where the rub comes in, because it's not cheap. According to Wayne Wells, if you take your RV to an aftermarket installer and have Liquid Spring installed on it, you're looking at around $30,000. So that's pretty serious money. Now, here's a nice alternative, though. There are some RV manufacturers that will allow you to install Liquid Spring at the factory as an option. For instance, Fleetwood, Holiday Rambler, Nexus, and Phoenix allows that capability. And you can get it cheaper that way because it's installed at the factory. But if you have an RV right now that you would like to put it on, well, there's a large network of installers across the country to choose from, and you can find them on the Liquid Spring website. So what RVs or what motorhomes can you put Liquid Spring on? Well, they are designed, as we said earlier, for the Class A F53 chassis, for the Class C Ford E350 and E450 chassis, but also the Class C Chevy GMC G3500 and 4500 chassis. But they're also available for the Super Cs as well, for the Ford F550 and 600 chassis, the Ram 5500, the Chevy Silverado 5500, and the International MV chassis. So if you have any of those chassis, well, then you can consider Liquid Spring because they have it made specifically for those models. Now, let me say this, though. Liquid Spring is not for everybody. The price alone is going to be prohibitive for a lot of people. But I do feel that it can work well for those who love their RV. They love everything about it except the ride and the handling. They want to keep the RV, And they want to keep it for years, and that way they can spread out the cost of this upgrade over several years. And, of course, those who have the money to spend on that. It's also a good choice, though, I feel, for those that are thinking about buying a new RV and they want the benefits of a gas motorhome, but they don't want to have to step up and pay the cost of a diesel pusher just to get good ride and handling. Well, then it could be a very good choice to get the RV you want in the gas-powered section and install liquid spring on it. My final point is this. You've heard what I have to say, but I feel that you need to experience it for yourself. If you think this could be something that could be useful for you, go out and get a test drive, see what you think, and then you can decide for yourself. And that's it for now. Have safe and happy travels, my friends. Until next time.